Hi guys, this is your unit online and we are going to be starting with our Do Now. Remember that you should be starting a brand new Do Now page as we are starting a brand new unit and a brand new week. So you are going to do a rough sketch of this Van Gogh artwork in your journal on your new Do Now page. You can pause the video so that you can complete that rough sketch. Remember, it can be full page or quarter page or half page, but that you will be taking notes as well on your Do Now page as the week goes on. So go ahead and pause me and restart me when you are ready to continue the lesson. Our goal for this unit, it is Van Gogh self-portraits, and the learning goal is I can use the grid method to create a self-portrait artwork using value techniques and color schemes. So the first question that I pose to you is, what is color? And I know it says here, turn to a friend and tell them what color is, which is what they would be doing in the classroom, but I just want you to think of this at home. What is color? Try to write that answer down in your notebook. Can you answer that question? Seems like it would be easy enough, but maybe not. I'll give you a minute to think about that. What is color? And then we're going to watch a little video about color because it's actually kind of a difficult question to answer. Let me pause that real quick. I'm just having an issue with the sound. Let me just double check my sound real quick to make sure that you guys are going to be able to hear it. Sorry about that. You'll really feel like you're in the classroom with me messing with all this technology. Here we go.
I can't answer that question.
What is color? Color is a sensation.
Color is a very personal thing. Color is very subjective.
It can trigger like a visceral response. Like if you smell bacon. No, bacon. You know, it's like if you see certain kinds of colors, the same exact feeling.
I don't know. Ask some smart person here at Pixar.
Color is a term that we use to describe a collection of attributes, hue and saturation and value, that describes how we see things. Hue is what the actual color is in the rainbow spectrum. Is it more yellow or is it more orange, bluer or redder? Value is how bright something is relative to something else. Is it white? Is it black? Is it some sort of middle gray? Saturation is how intense the color is. Is it more subdued and gray, or is it more vibrant, almost fluorescent? You know, a fully saturated color is, quite eye-popping. Color is everything to artists.
It wasn't until I started working at Pixar that I think I had to think about color in a different way, to apply it to a narrative and it could mean something.
On Up, there was a scene where Carl's house got burned by months. It's really one of the lowest points of the film, and it's this sunrise. Normally, sunrises are very beautiful. It's the start of a new day, but for this one, we wanted an angry sunrise. It was just this beautiful tone of red that was so dramatic for me. I think that was really cool.
Because the choice of color is so critical to the storytelling process, it's really important that we understand the science of the choosing of those colors. The first thing to realize about color is that color is really made up of light. Light comprises different wavelengths of energy, and when that energy comes through our pupil onto our retina inside our eye, it becomes nerve impulses, signals, and eventually gets processed by the brain. So the light is out in the real world. The color only really exists inside your brain when you perceive it. In the rest of this lesson, we're going to dive more into the science and perception of color. Let's go!
All right, so that kind of helps maybe to go over what color is. It went over a little bit of the science of color, but also the emotions of color and how color creates different feelings in people. We have a lot of vocabulary in this lesson, so I do apologize for that. This is probably the most vocabulary that you'll have on any certain unit. So in your visual journal, you need to write down one long list. Remember, every word should go under the word before it so that you have room next to them to write the definitions. These are your words. I would definitely pause the lesson so that you have time to write all of these down. And then restart me when you are ready to start working your way through the lesson. So your vocabulary are color scheme, color wheel, secondary colors, primary colors, warm colors, cool colors, complementary colors, intermediate colors, analogous colors, monochromatic colors, value, grid method, and self-portrait. I want you to write all of those down, and then when you're ready, you can push play to continue the lesson. So the first vocabulary word that we're going to cover is a color scheme, and a color scheme is a group of colors. A group of colors, color scheme. A color wheel is a tool that artists use to choose color schemes. So it's a tool to look at to help you identify colors that are going to go well together. And there's many, many color schemes or groups of colors that you probably have talked about before. And the reason that they are put into groups is because they help you to see which colors are going to create certain feelings or how they're going to create a certain look to your artwork. So by choosing a color scheme that already exists, you already kind of know how that will play out in your artwork. These two are back to elementary school, probably your kindergarten, first grade days, and they are primary and secondary colors. Primary colors are the colors that create all other colors on the color wheel. They cannot be created by mixing other colors. The primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Secondary colors are the second set of colors on the color wheel, and they are created by mixing primary colors. So for example, if I wanted to make this secondary color of purple, I would mix red and blue. If I wanted to mix colors to create orange, I would come over to orange. So if you're looking at the color wheel, which is the reason that it's the tool for color mixing, I would look at orange, and what's on either side of orange? Red, and on the other side is yellow. So that color in between is what it makes. That's how the color wheel works. I want to make orange, the colors on either side. And of course, if you're now looking at a color wheel, think of it in rainbow order, because that's what order it goes in. So if I'm thinking I need to make orange, just think red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and you'll know how to mix those colors just by saying the rainbow out loud and what order they go in. And then, of course, if I'm going to make the secondary color of green, I'd be mixing yellow and blue. Now, there's a third set of colors, and sometimes it's called tertiary, but I like to call them intermediate colors. And they are the colors that fall between primary and secondary colors. So red is a primary color. Orange is a secondary color. The color in between those is the intermediate color. And when they name them, or when you name them, you're going to put the primary color first. So this is red-orange. It would not be orange-red. Red-orange is the intermediate color. Other intermediate colors, yellow-orange. Primary color is first on it. Yellow-green. Blue-green, blue-violet, and red-violet. These are back to probably about third grade, I believe, and that is warm and cool colors. I'm hoping this is a review for most of you. You might hear some new information. I hope you hear some new information, but it should also have been done back in elementary school if you had art. So warm colors are one half of the color wheel and the cool colors are the other half. Warm colors are red, orange, and yellow, and all those intermediate shades that fall in there. Sometimes they put yellow-green as part of that, but I would refer to that more as a cool color because it falls in the greens to me. Cool colors are green, blue, and purple. Make sure you're writing these down as you are working your way through the lesson next to your vocabulary words. Complementary colors. I like that name because that's what they do. They actually complement one another. They make them pop. Complementary colors are all the way across from each other on the color wheel. So one of them that you can think of would be red and green. Think about that. Where have you seen the complementary colors red and green used? A lot. It's a holiday. Maybe not one you celebrate, or maybe it is. Christmas is a very good example of the complementary color set of red and green. And again, it makes each other pop. Green on its own is nice, but if it's next to red, it's really going to be bold and bright. Blue and orange is another set. This is used in a lot of sports teams, the blue and orange combo. I'm sure you can think of one right here in Florida. Maybe you're not a fan of it, but that's okay. We're just talking about color schemes, not about if we like a team or not. And that color scheme would be found in the Gators. Another set of complementary colors is yellow and purple. Please make sure you are writing these down in your visual journal next to the vocabulary so that you have them to use. So purple and yellow, again, that is used a lot in sports. I'm sure you could think of a few. I can. Things like the Lakers, the Vikings. Remember, those colors make each other pop, and that's actually why they are chosen for things like that. This is another color scheme, and it's called innocuous colors. They are neighbors on the color wheel, which means they live right next door to each other on the color wheel. Now, you could do something like red, yellow, orange. You could do 3 colors, 4 colors, or you could actually incorporate even the intermediate colors. But it has to be 3 to 4 colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel. So I could go over here and I could say purple, blue, green, or I could actually include the intermediate. Okay, so neighbors on the color wheel. This color scheme is called monochromatic. The word monochromatic actually tells you exactly what it is. Mono means one. Chromatic means color. So this color scheme is one color. It's just a lot of different values of the color. Value is also one of your vocabulary words, and value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So that's what you're seeing here is the value scale of one color. So it's going from light to dark. That's the value. Monochromatic means just one color. So for example, here I've got like a reddish orange. That is the only color, but it's different values or lights and darks of it. All right, we're going to look at some artwork. And you may have to pause and kind of go back to look at the questions. What I want you to do is write these things down in your visual journal, and you don't have to answer all 4 artworks. You could just do one, but I want you to take the time to pause, look at the questions, look at the artwork, whichever one of the 4 that you choose, and write down the answers on your notes page that you are working on in your visual journal. So here's the questions, and you would answer all these questions about one of the artworks. So you would describe and go through and answer those. Analyze, go through and answer those. Interpret, go through and answer those. And decide and evaluate, go through and answer those. So you're going to move the video forward and look at the individual artworks. For example, there's this one, this one, this one, and this one. I want you to choose one of those 4 artworks, and then I want you to go back to the questions page within this lesson, and I want you to evaluate those artworks and answer the questions. That will help you in looking at art to really analyze it and dissect it instead of just looking at the picture, actually thinking about it, thinking about the colors they use, the textures they use. So take a moment, pause the video, go back to those questions, just rewind the video a little bit so you can see those questions, and answer those questions about one of those artworks. Once you're done with that, you can come back and push play on the video and we will continue on. So go ahead and pause this, go back to one of those pictures, answer the questions, and then you can come back and join by pushing play again, and we'll continue on. So if you have finished analyzing and evaluating the picture that you chose, now you will be able to watch a video. It is called The Effect of Color, and we're going to go ahead and watch this, and then we'll talk about what we're doing for our project.
You wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you decide how you look or how you feel, mostly dependent upon color.
Color can affect you both physiologically and psychologically.
You can make somebody feel something with color.
It's the mood.
Color is everywhere. It's just pervasive all throughout our lifestyles, our culture. Whether or not you're verbalizing it, you're actually saying something to the world. This is me because I'm wearing this color.
Most people know color. You know color, you use it every day, you interact with it, that's how you make your way through the world. And the color perceptors in your eyes are rods and cones. Cones start with a C and they perceive color, your rods perceive grays. Color theory, as a definition, it's more the mixtures and implementation of combinations of color. Color is the umbrella under which hue, value, and chroma rest. Hue being the distinction between different colors on a wheel from red to red-orange, so to speak. Value being light and dark, and chroma being bright and dull. The color wheel is a tool that helps us talk about the physical phenomena of light and how we perceive it and how we ultimately implement it in designs and the combinations. We now teach more based on the harmonies and contrasts and how it relates to how you utilize color. So students learn about complementary colors, which tend to be opposite one another, and clash, which is just 2 colors, but they're one off of complementary. I think that there's been many different types of wheels, and so I say to students nowadays, I don't mind if you invent your own wheels with your own nuanced understandings of color, because you're a different human than whoever came before you, and who knows what you'll come up with that invents the future that we haven't even seen yet. So you get a lot more interaction with color nowadays on multiple levels, and people are aware of this. They know that they're affected by it soulfully, not just mentally. And you should take that strength in your soul to build your own understanding, because it is so personal, and you change.
For me is what I call sort of a silent language or an emotional language that we all sort of intuitively know how to speak. As we see color, we start to associate it with different things in our lives. We have 3 different types of associations: universal, cultural, and individual. Individual color preference is a really interesting dynamic. I think color trends play a part in color preference. Quite often, though, it may be associated with an experience. There are definitely universal aspects to color, and they are usually the physiological ones. So red is definitely the one that increases your heart rate when you first see it. It makes you want to move. There are some studies that actually say that you'll walk faster, you'll eat more, you'll talk more when you're, let's say, in a red room than any other color. One great example is you think of the red carpet. Well, there's a reason why the red carpet is the red carpet, and that's because it keeps the traffic flowing. Where conversely, when you see blue, the opposite will happen. So you become more calm and relaxed. I think the one that is most interesting is the cultural differences. For the most part, it's usually a learned response. So when you're very young, you might think of brown as dirty and earthy. But as time goes on, you learn to adjust those associations. So all of a sudden, when espresso and coffee became a whole new trend, brown took on a whole new association. Or when we start to think of things like recycling or environmental concerns, it's natural for us to think of green. So we develop different types of associations that we share with other human beings. And as we grow, those become more and more meaningful to us.
I've gone back through the 20th century and I found that there were some ebbs and flows of color, and it's just an evolution of a shift, not a revolution. Color is not the place where I look first, it's the why behind it. The economic, the social, the political, the technological, environmental influences, they're all the drivers of why color is always evolving and revolving. With the economic issues that we've had in recent years, people gravitate to safe colors, grounded colors, rooted in the past and rooted into the ground. So you bring up what we call organic colors. And as we get familiar with that, there comes a time where we need a pick-me-up. So take the familiar and just add a little accent of something new and give you a totally new look. Here we were with the Depression. People were so depressed they needed to put color back in their lives, so they colored glass, and that's where Depression glass comes from. Go back to the 60s and we saw the psychedelic colors coming in because of the drug culture. It was pattern on pattern, color on color, and it was just a kaleidoscope of everything happening all at once. And then in the 70s we had to rest for a decade. We browned out, and remember the decoupage and almond and beige and browns of the 1970s. So in forecasting, we look at those kinds of trends, what are constant, but also something new and different for the forecast in the future.
As like a GIF artist, you can only use 256 colors.
I think the restriction is really cool. It's like something common that all GIF makers have to think about when they're making a GIF.
You work within this resolution that in today's high def you never see, so it almost gave it an aesthetic just because it was so constrained.
It's minimalism. It lets the viewer fill in the blanks.
It's communicating with people via imagery.
We like to experiment with different types of film. That's why you never see the same looking portrait shot.
You get like different colors that you wouldn't get with your perfect camera. Like a VHS camera brings out like the oranges and makes everything super saturated. You almost can't fake that kind of color because of the way the colors interact with each other. You can always make a rainbow move because there's so many colors to cycle through. You don't even have to be choosy on the colors as long as you have all of them in there.
I'm like a black and white fiend. You know, like conscious decision of not using color and making it work. Black and white is bold.
And then you throw in like a little red, it'll make that red pop just that much more.
Variety, you know, like if you see our page, if it was all color, all black and white, it wouldn't have much impact.
When it comes to colors though, you want to think of like what colors match before you even worry about what colors you can't use. And like you could make anything as long as you make it look intentional. It's like a taste of nostalgia. It's also like the challenge of trying to convey an idea in these blocks.
Usually people think picking the color for something is pretty simple, but it actually gets complex pretty quickly.
Color's emotive, and I don't think it ever stays static, and so you're looking at color in a different way of accenting it rather than changing it abruptly.
It's just that you have to learn to identify it and codify the language. How do I arrange them, and how do I speak about that arrangement so that other people understand what I'm creating or doing?
Use black and white sometimes.
Colors are just fun, man. I just want to like inspire people to make like fun stuff. It's just like, zero.
All right, guys, so I hope you got a little bit out of that because that is a great video that talks about just color across things from history, how they're used in digital art. So it's very, very interesting. We are going to be making self-portraits, and we are going to be using the grid method and color schemes. This is a little bit of an intense and labor-intensive artwork. Some of you are going to love it, some of you are going to hate it, but I do hope you will all try it to your best of your ability because it can really be a useful tool for artists to convey and transfer information from one resource to a drawing. We are going to focus on color schemes, so here's some example artworks that are showing color schemes on self-portraits. We have monochromatic, complementary in both of those. And this is also complementary. This one did more of a skin tone, which is fine. That's not really part. That's a neutral, so it doesn't really count against a color scheme. And then they did the hair, all the color scheme there. So you could do something like that. And again, our goal for this unit is I can use the grid method to create a self-portrait artwork using value techniques and color schemes. So today you are going to go, after you finish this lesson, you are going to download the color wheel worksheet and you are going to complete that all the way by coloring it in. Please don't just label things. I expect you to color it. And then you are going to glue that worksheet into your notebook when you finish. And I would also like you to upload that to my learning so that I can see that you have done it and that you have that resource available to you. So you can go ahead and stop the lesson here, complete your color worksheet. If you don't have time to finish it during class today, then you will continue on your color wheel worksheet tomorrow. If you have any questions about the lesson that we just did here, please go ahead and Zoom me. I do have my Zoom open and I am ready to help anyone that needs one-on-one help or has any questions at all about the lesson or what we are doing today. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I can't wait to chat with you soon. If you need me, please go ahead and Zoom me at this time.